Hello everyone and welcome to another top 5 records video. Today I'm going to be comparing one of my favorite albums of all time, the Beatles' White Album. And I have two versions because I'm going to dive into the mono pressing of this record. And what I'm holding here is 2014 famous version from the 2014 Beatles mono box set. Now, this is an often sought after copy. Why? Well, finding a mono pressing of the White Album can be quite a challenge, especially if you want them in a good shape. Since it's 2014, 10 years ago, most of these pressings are still in a very good near mint shape. And the source for this record was the original master tape. Now, there are even people who say that because the quality of pressings and the possibility of having more low in there, because in the old days they had to filter low frequencies out for the cheap players, makes this one possible for a better, fuller sound stage. Well, if that's true, I'm going to find out in this video. But it uses the master tapes, and that's really rare in the world of the Beatles because a lot of the reissues are from copies of masters. Even Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab supposedly did not get the masters for most or all of their releases from the Beatles. There are even digital masters involved. So this is originally from the master tapes, which just makes it really exciting. But what's also from the master tapes, of course, is an original. And I have one here. It took me a couple of years to find one. I found this one for $40 here in the Netherlands, but I've been looking all over the Netherlands. I've been looking all over London several times before I could find an original that wasn't about 500 or 600 euros or pounds. It's a crazy expensive record, but they are there. The original mono is out there, and the shape of this is obviously, as you can see, far from as perfect as the new one. But final wise, I'm gonna get into the pressing quality later on, and of course, this one has more scratches, more hairlines than the 2014 version. But not taking that into account, I'm gonna talk about that. But this is the original, and if you take a look, first thing before I get into the sound, the packaging, they did a good job with the 2014 version because looking here, if you open it, the gatefold, you have a nice flip side. It's a top loader. You get the vinyl out here. They even have just the original, the black inner sleeves. You have the 4 sets of pictures. You have the poster in here. They did a good job. It's not an exact replica. You can notice in the cardboard that it's just a little bit thinner. Different types of cardboard. If you feel this, the touch of the cardboard of the original is different. This has more, somewhat rounder and fuller edges if you take a closer look. So there is definitely a texture difference, but I mean, nevertheless, they did a great job on the packaging of the 2014 version. Now, sound wise, good question. Which one is better? I started listening even before I already had the original one with the 2014 mono. And in the case of the White Album, I'm going to do a video. I have a stereo versus mono section on my channel. I'm going to compare both versions of this record. But for me, rule of thumb with the Beatles actually is get both. Get both, mono and stereo, because sometimes they use different takes. They have different effects. They have different mixes. These are all of their albums up until the White Album. They are unique mixes. So the attitude is different. Which one do you prefer? Well, that's up to you. In the case of the White Album, I have a tough time. I cannot choose. Um, I'll do an elaborate video on that later on. But for example, if you listen to the guitar solo on While My Guitar Gently Weeps by Eric Clapton, in the stereo version, great solo, of course. The mono version has so much more body and depth that I do notice the blues element where Clapton is coming from, and that does add to the song. The experience of the songs is different on the mono version. So you really want to hear this one in mono. Now, the 2014, quality wise, it's good silent vinyl. It is a very clear sound. It's a good pressing. It has a good overall sound stage. I really liked the punch that you could hear on the drums and on the bass, even when the playing, for example, on the drums or on the hi hats, can be nuanced. It's not only a punch when it's bats when there's force there. No, it's nice. It's good. The representation of the voice is good. This is obviously a very very good pressing. Yet, is it better than the original? Also, on some songs, I had the idea that certain frequencies of the bass, not the entirety, but they might have been a little bit louder. They can sometimes be a little bit not problematic, but slightly unbalanced, slightly boosted. The thing here is they could give it more bass because needles in current systems are less likely to pop out. And I do believe they gave it that. Was that always necessary? We're talking about hairlines here. But if it's on the master tape and if it was supposed to have that bass, it might be good to have it. Does this come closer to the master or the other? I don't know. I have never listened to the master. So, comparing it to the original 1968, I find the quality of this vinyl, despite all the stories of the late 60s UK vinyl, and I have had comparisons of 1968 stereo pressings of this album with 1970 pressings stereo of that album. I prefer the 1970 stereo pressing of this album because the quality of the vinyl is slightly better. But overall, this is not bad. When I'm taking a look at the vinyl here, and I compared this, there are some hairlines here. There are some hairlines. Yet the mono needle, I listened with a mono needle, it goes full, good, deep. And there's a great full sound going on here. There's a little hiss, but I think that's unavoidable hiss. I might do an ultrasonic cleaning on it and see what's left of there. Nothing problematic. Although there are hairlines, there are hairlines. This is a record. I'm holding a record that has been played. I'd say this is Fiji minus shape, and the other one is near mint shape. Yet I have no problem listening here. I have no problem with tiny little pops and ticks going on here. This is a solid quality pressing. If we're going to go full silent, the 2014 version is obviously the better choice. But the quality of the vinyl here is good. It's sufficient. Seriously. Now, the mastering. There are differences. Both come from the master tape. First thing I noticed was there is on certain songs, not on all songs, but on certain songs, I have the idea that some of the frequencies of the bass are not there. And it might be that the other one is boosted or that the other one is closer to the master tape. But you would think that you would notice that the lack of that in a lack of the presence of the bass. That's not the case. I hear that there was more bass, not volume wise, not volume boost, but like there's more frequencies of bass in the other one. But here the bass that's the bizarre thing, it has more detail, it has more nuance. I can hear on certain songs the touching of the fingers better, more nuanced than I could on the 2014 version. It is a gorgeous bass, although it might lack some in frequencies, and certainly for some music lovers, it does lack on frequencies. Not for my taste, because the bass is present, the bass is audible. Still, even for that time, it's a very good sounding bass. Overall frequencies. the mastering, the idea behind the mastering is a lot like on the 2014 version. Yet there is texture difference. There is a clarity difference. This one, the original, has more clarity. It is more direct in its sound. It has a very fresh sound. It has more punch. It has more warmth. It has great detail. It's really good detail. The biggest difference for me is that direct, full sound with detail on everything, on all frequencies. Vocals sound so natural, so good. It's crisp. It's an incredible pressing. So, if you have the opportunity, and even if you come across a white album version that is slightly scratched, go for it. An original with some scratches, if you have a mono needle, go for it, because for me it is the clear winner. It is the clear winner, and I really, really enjoy this pressing. The 2014 for me now is definitely going into the box. I'm not gonna take it out because the other one has so much more punch and detail. Although it's a good version, it's a very good version. But my guess is, and some mastering engineers say that a lot of these tapes, they do not age, or they do not the aging would not be audible. Well, I don't know what's happening in there in the mastering room, but this does to me sound like the master tape has aged, just as I recently discovered on the late great Townes Van Zandt. They did not mess with the master tape. I compared the also 2014 Omnivore pressing with an original American pressing, and you do notice, and I love it when they use the master tape, but you do notice a certain aging on there. Perhaps not everybody handled it carefully enough, but it's a difference in fullness, punch, freshness. And that's also going on here. Is it problematic? No. If you have a 2014, be happy, because it's great to enjoy this record in mono. But if you come across an original and it's affordable, enjoy that moment. So I'm curious, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.